Before we get into this video, big shout out to Finn Mckenty for giving me permission to use his content for this reaction, and the Punk Rock NBA, which is his second channel. All the links to his channels will be in the description if you want to go and subscribe to him, because he does make great stuff. Anyway, let's get into this. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing interview reactions here on Twitch. This one's been put forward by Kelly 30 Seconds to Mars, and we're doing Ronnie Radke, The Rise, Fall and Rise Again. We know about his illustrious past, and it's from somebody called the Punk Rock NBA. Anyway, let's get it. Okay, so Ronnie Radke, The Rise, Fall and Rise Again. Let's get it.
Get started today.
He's got an editor, Timothy Gilly. I do all my own stuff. That's why it's crap. Let's go.
After being in a few small local bands, Ronnie's first band to get any real traction was Escape the Fate, which formed back in 2004 in Las Vegas, Nevada. And their big break came in 2005 when they entered a local radio station's Battle of the Bands style contest that was judged by My Chemical Romance. They ultimately won the...
What? That's cool. That's another reason why Ronnie probably thinks My Chemical Romance are cool.
Battle of the Bands style contest that was judged by My Chemical Romance. They ultimately won the contest and even got to play with My Chemical Romance on the local date of their tour with Alkaline Trio. And on the back of the hype from that contest and Escape the Fate's demo, they signed with Epitaph Records in late 2005 and released their debut album, Dying Is Your Latest Fashion, in 2006, with the big single that you've probably heard being Situations.
Situations are irrelevant now.
It's a cheeky song there, isn't it?
And to be honest, I had no idea who they were back then, but when I saw this video, I could immediately tell that there was something different about them. Mostly that they weren't like depressed and whiny like so many of the other bands around that time. They had more the same vibe as 80s bands like Motley Crue or Guns N' Roses. A little wild, a little mix of like dangerous and arrogant, which honestly is kind of what the scene needed at the time. That album became Epitaph's fastest selling debut for a new artist, and the band seemed like they were on their way to becoming the next big thing until Ronnie's wild lifestyle caught up with him and got him kicked out of the band. And a lot of people think that what happened is that Ronnie killed somebody, but this is just not true.
It's not. It's not. He was just there. He was just there.
And a lot of people think that what happened is that Ronnie killed somebody, but this is just not true.
I didn't go to prison for 2 years for murder. I didn't go to prison for murder. I went to a fight. I went to fight somebody, and they had a gun, and they pulled the fucking gun out and shot at me. So my friend shot them and fucking killed them.
However, Ronnie was charged with possessing brass knuckles, got probation for that, and after violating the terms of his probation, was eventually sentenced to prison after being a wanted fugitive.
Take a good look, Ronnie Radke, the authorities searching high and low for the 24-year-old on the run.
He'd also been kicked out.
The news, you know, the news make everything sound so escalated, don't they? The fugitive, he's on the run. You know what I mean? He's a guy who went for a fight and then couldn't fight because someone pulled a gun out of him when he's got brass knuckles. You know what I mean?
The authorities searching high and low for the 24-year-old on the run.
He'd also been kicked out of Escape the Fate, replaced by Craig Mabbitt of Bless the Fall, who at the time was not exactly the biggest fan of Ronnie.
And by the way, anybody hoping to hear new shit from Ronnie Radke, he just got with heroin in prison, so he's staying there for a very long time. So fuck off.
And normally...
Ooh! So this probably, because I know that for a little bit, because I did some reactions, didn't I, to Escape the Fate and stuff, and Craig and whatever. For a little bit, these two hated each other, didn't they, Craig and Ronnie? And then there was that video where they made amends, didn't they? And they actually made friends again.
Normally, this is where you would expect the story to end for someone like Ronnie. A once promising musician about to break through into the mainstream, fucks it all up and goes to prison. But this is really just the beginning for Ronnie. Prison is one of those things that tends to either make or break someone. I've never done time myself, but both of my parents were corrections officers, and I have several uncles and friends who did do time, and I've seen it play out both ways. And for Ronnie, it seems like prison was the wake-up call that he needed. Shortly after he got out, an interviewer asked him, "Are you in any way glad that you went to jail?" And I think his answer really spells it out. "Oh yeah, I would have never been able to write this good of a record if I didn't go. I'm very happy because now I'm clean. I've been clean for a long time now. If I hadn't gone away, I would never have changed. I'd probably be dead." And well, in prison...
That's honest. It's honest, isn't it? You know what I mean? And maybe, I mean, although he probably didn't deserve to go to prison, because all I did was, like I say, have some fucking knuckle dusters on him. The fact that he went away, the fact that he got clean because he was like abusing whatever substances and stuff, and made the record, etc., as he, you know, is a testament to the prison system. It can rehabilitate people, but he shouldn't have really been there in the first place. So maybe that was just his break. I don't know.
I'm now. If I hadn't gone away, I would never have changed. I'd probably be dead. And while in prison, he wrote what would become the debut album from Falling in Reverse, The Drug in Me Is You, which came out on Epitaph in 2011. It debuted at number 19 on Billboard, and it proved that Ronnie was back. He'd been to hell and made it out the other side, seemingly stronger than ever. And personally, I think this album is really strong, but it did kind of sound like a more polished version of what he had been doing with Escape the Fate. And what really showed his evolution was the second album from Falling in Reverse. But before I talk about that album, I want to just pause for a second. Because some of you may be asking yourself, why are you even making this video? Do you just want to lick Ronnie's balls? Well, the answer is that this video isn't really about Ronnie at all. It is about you. Because no matter how badly you may have fucked up your life, you probably didn't fuck up as bad as Ronnie did by getting kicked out of his band, going to prison, getting addicted to drugs, and seemingly throwing away everything that he had achieved.
I was so tempted then to say, well, if it's not about Ronnie Radke, then who is it about? And the fact that they put Ronnie Radke in the title. I remember this stream when Ronnie Radke was doing cooking. It's funny.
Getting addicted to drugs, and seemingly throwing away everything that he had achieved. A lot of people spend their time in prison getting high, gambling, or fighting, but Ronnie used that time to get clean and write his best album yet, so that when he got out, he was already ahead of where he was when he went in. So my point here is that if you feel like you've just totally fucked up your life and it's too late to fix it, it's not. If Ronnie did it, then so can you. No matter how much you doubt yourself, just keep moving forward. Which brings me to the second Falling in Reverse album, Fashionably Late, which is my personal favorite thing that he's ever...
Alone. I'm shitting in Pampers. Ronnie hates that song. He hates them lyrics. He hates the fact that he came out swinging like that, and he hates the fact that it's childish and stupid and not a representation of what he wants to be. I think it's a banger.
Then so can you. No matter how much you doubt yourself, just keep moving forward. Which brings me to the second Falling in Reverse album, Fashionably Late, which is my personal favorite thing that he's ever recorded. If the first album was picking up where Dying Is Your Latest Fashion left off, this one showed that he had already moved on from that sound, especially the lead single, Alone.
Fuck you bitches, I'm a business, I be kissing on your missus. What you spend in 15 months is what I spend in 15 minutes.
And this album in general is kind of all over
Bad
the place.
Girls
It goes
Club.
from metal to poppy.
Oh, this is giving me vibes of when I first started doing reactions. It was all new to me, and my videos were really, really bad quality. But I just started like discovering Falling in Reverse, and this is giving me some nostalgic memories of not being able to use a computer or a camera. This is great.
And this album in general is kind of all over the place. It goes from metal to poppy rock. There's some rap. There's some electronic elements all over the place. For example, in Kerrang's review, they said that they couldn't decide if Falling in Reverse's new album is genius or guff. And they ultimately gave it a score of
Genius.
who the fuck knows. And so, as would kind of become a pattern
enough.
in Ronnie's career, critics mostly hated this album, but fans loved it, and it was his most successful release yet, coming in at number 17 on Billboard. His next album, Just Like You, was somewhat of a
Chemical,
return to the post-hardcore sound, followed
Prisoner.
by his 2017 album, Coming Home, which
That album is an absolute monster. Ronnie doesn't like it. I don't know why. Coming Home is a really, really good album. It was so good, in fact, when I started doing the journey and doing all the songs out of that Coming Home album, I bought it. I even, on the video, next Following Reverse video, after doing it, I unboxed the CD that I got.
to the post-hardcore
Still got it in
sound,
my car.
followed by his 2017 album Coming Home, which I view as being maybe the biggest turning point in his career since going to prison. Because although that album had
Superhero.
Fallen Universe's biggest single to date with Superhero, according to Ronnie, the album was kind of a flop. As he later said, "My album Coming Home didn't do well. It tanked. It did bad. It didn't do well. The numbers don't lie."
Doesn't mean it's a bad album, though. Just because it didn't do well in the public or whatever, doesn't mean it's a bad album. It's my favourite album, to be honest, from what I've heard. And the best song on it for me is I Don't Mind. I think that's a really, really good song. I think it's awesome.
But instead of doing what most people might do, which is making excuses or crying about it or blaming the industry or whatever, he used the failure of that album as an opportunity to reinvent himself yet again and pivot towards an emphasis on singles instead of albums.
What he should have done with Coming Home is finished it, because he should have put Carry On it. Carry On should have been on that, whether it be a track listed song or an extra song on it. Carry On should have been on that album. That would have finished the album, because it was still the same sort of sound. And then he released it later on as just as a single. I remember him on the stream saying, I've got a new song coming out. Do you guys want to hear it? It's an old one that I did a while back. I had to mute it and didn't listen because I knew he was going to be doing a reaction to it because he's releasing it. And I think he said, if we get a certain amount of subs or if we get a certain amount of this, I'll release the song. And then they did. Do you know what I mean? And he played it for you guys and I just went off stream. Couldn't listen to it. He should release... But do you know what, Kelly? Kelly 36 to Mars on stream said she hopes he'll release it one day with Carry On. You could always burn all the songs onto a CD and then add it. Do it yourself.
So I looked to rap like Drake and I was like, what are they doing? And they're putting out singles. I'm like, okay, so what if I put all my creativity into one song instead of putting all my creativity into 10 songs and being rushed to get it out? And
Now, this is what Ronnie said on stream as well. He's going to start... to back that sentence up, he said on one of his streams, he said, how did he word it? I'm going to start focusing on quality instead of quantity. You know, he said that after releasing, I think it was The Drug in Me's Reimagined. And then we've had about 5 or 6 releases since over 2 years, which is not like a lot of, a lot of music in that time frame for like other bands. And he's just, like say, just released song. And his reimagined stuff is some of the best stuff I've heard.
ended up being the last full-length album that Fallen Universe has put out to this day, which might seem like an obvious decision now where everybody kind of understands that singles are more important than albums. But remember, this was back in 2017, 2018. That was a huge risk that went against everything that people in the rock scene say about how the album is always the most important thing.
No.
But once again,
Putting all your energy into one song, one video is probably better, like say the quality over quantity. You know what I mean? I think that's true.
people in the rock scene say about how the album is always the most important thing. But once again, they were wrong and he was right. With the new focus on singles,
Popular
every
Monster!
song that he put out seemed like it was bigger and bigger than the last one, ultimately leading up to the release of Popular Monster in 2019.
Awesome song.
This was by far the biggest song of his career, eventually going platinum and putting Ronnie onto a whole new level. I think with this song, what he really showed is that he was bigger than that whole Warped Tour kind of scene that he came from. This really put him into the conversation of just a mainstream rock artist. And once again, the point that...
And not only that, it's because he moved with the times. Like, looking what Drake and everyone was doing, putting the rap into his songs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And when you hear some of the stuff of Ronnie's mixtape before you hear like Popular Monster and stuff, there is a lot of rap in there anyway. You know what I mean? And it's good rap. It's not just crap rap. It's flexing rap, speed rap. You know what I mean? Like triple time, double time, whatever.
This really put him into the conversation of just a mainstream rock artist. And once again, the point that I want to make here is about you. That every time you fail or fuck up or come up short, that is an opportunity for you to learn and reinvent yourself just like Ronnie has. But only if you have the humility to admit that you failed, to see where you went wrong, and if you're willing to put in the work. And you can see that in Ronnie if you look at what he said about writing Popular Monster. I'm like, I'll just keep making it until when I wake up the next day, I don't question the song anymore. I'm like, dang, it's like 7 in the morning. I'm going to get coffee. I put the song on. I'm like, this slaps. Instead of being like, it's pretty good. It's like, no, this is insanely good. And he also
that's the perfectionist. They're tweaking, they're making the song, making it over and over again. And after watching that Bring Me the Horizon documentary that we did a few weeks ago, Ollie Sykes has the same sort of view. And he's how long did it take him to write Parasite Eve? Something like 6 months, because he's tweaking this and tweaking that, recording that, re-recording that, re-recording that. You know what I mean? And that's the process of someone who cares about the music they put out.
Understood that when it comes to marketing and distribution and building an audience, he also needed to adapt with the times. Remember, Escape the Fate came out back in the mid-2000s, back in the MySpace days, and there's a lot of bands from back then that really never adapted to the new landscape. But Ronnie saw the power of all these new marketing channels, in particular TikTok, when Good Girls, Bad Guys went viral on the app, and he chose to lean into that. As well as YouTube reaction channels, which were kind of blowing up at the time, which again, he saw and leaned into that by making songs with these kind of big, crazy moments and visuals that make it easy for reactors to work with. As he said, it's free. If you make the videos crazy enough to draw people's attention or for people to react to them, it's just free marketing. Some of these people have massive amounts of subscribers watching them, and I've noticed a massive influx in fans who are like, I had no idea you existed, but thanks to so-and-so, now I do, and I'm a huge fan.
And this is what record companies don't fucking get. Well, the big record companies anyway.
Fans who are like, I had no idea you existed, but thanks to so-and-so, now I do, and I'm a huge fan. I think it's also worth pointing out that his newer songs like Popular Monster, or more recently, Zombified and Watch the World Burn, are much closer in style to Alone by Falling in Reverse than anything that Escape the Fate ever did. So as much as the critics may have hated that song back in 2013, it turns out he was actually right about where things were headed.
It's so stupid.
And the proof of that is that Falling in Reverse just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
But Alone is a very good song, Ronnie. You can't sit there and say it's so stupid. I think it's a couple of bars within that song he doesn't like. I mean, the arrogance of saying, like, I'll be kissing on your missus, what I'm making this time, I'm making 15 minutes, you know what I mean? And the fact that I've been doing this since I've been shitting in Pampers and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I remember watching him on the stream doing it, and he was cringing, going, oh, why'd you guys make me put this song on and stuff like that? And it was like, he's like, because it's actually a good song. You know what I mean? The analogies he used, like, I've been doing this since shitting in Pampers, was hilarious. It was funny.
So stupid.
And the proof of that is that Falling in Reverse just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where I would say they're probably the biggest band of their generation, most recently selling out an entire headlining tour, including legendary venues like Red Rocks. And by now, a lot of you are probably saying, well, wait a minute, why are you praising this guy that's just a giant narcissistic asshole? And isn't he a transphobe? Well, to that, my answer is, if I actually thought he was a transphobe, I wouldn't be making a video praising him.
No, and it's the same ideals that people have about Tom McDonald. When he says stuff, same as what Ronnie says, he's not being transphobic, he's not being homophobic, he's not being racist. He's basically pointing out what's happening in today's society. And Ronnie does exactly the same as what Tom McDonald does. And everyone goes mad saying that, because you've pointed it out, you're being homophobic, etc. Do you know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm not. Or transphobic, as he said. And they're not. They're not. Things sometimes need pointing out. That's all. That's all it is. It's not his own personal opinion.
Why are you praising this guy that's just a giant narcissistic asshole? And isn't he a transphobe? Well, to that, my answer is, if I actually thought he was a transphobe, I wouldn't be making a video praising him. Okay, well, how about all those times on Twitter?
You said aging. Proceeded to say you're age 32. And bio posted this shaggy Scooby-Doo Tom Green-esque photo of yourself that makes you look like you're 52. Here's my headline for you. I love the fact he's put Michael Jackson's name and he's put he on it. I know it doesn't say it there. Failed musician redirects anger at successful musician to overcompensate for weak jawline and hides once with a hardcore kid turned barber from Ohio beard. And who's that? Who's Noam? Who's Noam Chomsky? Aging cringelord has public midlife crisis, melts down over cover band. I love it when metal musicians in bands nobody's literally ever heard of that play the same exact breakdown in every song with the same stupid ass synth that every other band uses, same scream that learns screams from some stupid ass YouTube tutorial, same bit, etc. Okay, I get it.
Twitter or TikTok that he went after somebody and called them an ugly loser. How can you support that?
My energy towards Ronnie will never change. It's fucking on site. Boy, if you don't get your fucking marshmallow...
Well, to be honest...
That's fucking funny. I hadn't seen that one. He's going to call him a marshmallow head. That was funny. I'm sorry. That was funny.
Fucking on site. Boy, if you don't get your fucking marshmallow...
Well, to be honest, I'm completely on his side there for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
For one, I think a lot of the people who he went after learned a valuable lesson, which is that sometimes if you fuck with the bull, you get the horns. They may have forgotten that words have consequences, and that when you talk shit about somebody, they may hear it and they might not like it. And just like you have the right to express your opinion, well, they have the right to express theirs as well.
Everybody's human. Everyone has feelings and thoughts. Everyone has things that wind them up. If you poke the bear and they hear you poking it or feel you poking it, then be prepared for the ramifications. Let's go.
I remember learning this lesson back when I was about 14 years old. I was at the arcade and I beat this kid pretty badly at Street Fighter, and I was talking a bunch of shit to him about how he sucked and all that. And he said, dude, if you don't shut the fuck up, I'm gonna punch you in the face. I kept talking, and guess what? He punched me right in the face. I didn't really know what to do because I could tell that this kid was tougher than me, so I just sort of like put my tail between my legs and walked away. And that was the last time that I talked shit to somebody like that. And so I learned a very valuable lesson that day. If you run your mouth to the wrong person at the wrong time, you might end up with a black eye. And I think that some of the people who get clowned by Ronnie, they probably learned that same lesson too.
Was that the mic stand incident?
With a black eye. And I think that some of the people who get clowned by Ronnie, they probably learned that same lesson too. And second of all, even if you think Ronnie is a total asshole, the fact of the matter is that a lot of what people say about him are just complete straight up lies. For example, this guy who accused Ronnie of multiple crimes that he has never committed. And then Ronnie comes back with this. And you can say that's petty and Ronnie should just let it go.
Bro, whatever you identify as, I will send you back the fucking Shadow Realm talking like that. Someone find this person's Facebook or whatever you can find so I can show him what he's saying his heinous ass false shit gets you. Okay. Some people just like, as Ronnie says, want to watch the world burn.
Oh, because it's just Twitter and it doesn't matter. But here's my question. Would you let it go? If people accused you of committing murder and being a sex offender on pretty much a daily basis, which is what they do to Ronnie, would you just let it go? Would you just ignore it and say, oh, that's just Twitter and go about your day? I bet you wouldn't. I bet you'd be pretty fucking upset, and for good reason, right?
I address people for telling me to pause too much. Of course I'm going to react to that.
Go about your day? I bet you wouldn't. I bet you'd be pretty fucking upset, and for good reason, right? Because it's not okay to spread lies about people for clout or just because you don't like their band.
I think it's really messed up that fans will take advantage of people in power like this and try to ruin their lives all by getting followers and attention. It's disgusting.
Yes.
So if you're a fan out there watching this and you've done this or you're thinking about doing that, you should be ashamed of yourself. It's gross and disgusting, and nobody will appreciate you in the long run. It'll age poorly. Please be honest.
And so
I've said this. People who promote hate stuff, negative stuff. I talked to Kyle about it on the Cavecast. And people who promote negative things get more views. They get more. I mean, look at the demonetization that we've been talking about a few weeks ago of Steve Knight and Just Jen spreading negativity and anti this and you know what I mean, woke stuff and whatever, or anti woke stuff, whatever all it was. I've not watched all the videos, but you know, going in on negative videos about, you know, almost bullying. That's what the I think it was bullying what they was demonetized for, or demonizing or something like that. But I mean, that sort of stuff gets you subscribers and views and spreads very quickly. But like I say, it's a slippery slope to demonetization.
You could say that it's petty for people to come after him like that, but I don't think it is. Because once again, to bring this back to you, do you want to live in a world in which people can just make up blatant lies about you that could potentially ruin your career or relationships without those people having to face any consequences for it? I sure don't. So personally, I'm glad that he puts these people in their places.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that more than a few of them have had that moment where they thought to themselves, oh shit, I may have just fucked up really badly. When they realized that by accusing him of a crime on
Didn't you and your friends beat a guy and shoot him to death? Don't you also have those rape allegations or multiple assault charges? You are the last person who should be giving advice about mass shootings. Go back underground, you overgrown hot topic cockroach. Don't let the media tell you it's white racist people doing mass murders. It's every race, mainly male. They only cover the white kids because it fits the narrative they push for ratings. Stay woke.
Twitter, they've just opened themselves up for a defamation lawsuit. So personally, I'm glad that Ronnie comes out.
It is defamation of character, he's right.
They've just opened themselves up for a defamation lawsuit. So personally, I'm glad that Ronnie comes after these people, and I think that you should be too. Because today it's Ronnie, but tomorrow it could be you. And last but not least, I really like this quote from Ronnie. It's kind of long, but bear with me. A lot of really big, famous singers tend to suffer from having a very low self-esteem and a really big ego. When you insult those people and throw rocks at them, they don't hit the ego because the ego is too high. But you can bet your ass that they hit their self-esteem, which is much lower down. You only have to look at a song like Alone to see that the same principle applies to me, because in the verses I'll talk about how much better I am than somebody, but then in the chorus I'm crying out because I don't want to be on my own. There's a crippling insecurity mixed with this belief that I'm the best, and I think it definitely explains who I am as a person better than anything else ever could. So just to sum it up, Ronnie is definitely not perfect. He's
the lyrics of Alone though, he's addressing the haters, isn't he? He's fighting fire with fire in that song. So, you know, if you're gonna give it, you're gonna get it. I don't see that as being big-headed. I just see that as putting someone in the place.
Security mixed with this belief that I'm the best, and I think it definitely explains who I am as a person better than anything else ever could. So just to sum it up, Ronnie is definitely not perfect. He's definitely done and said things that he probably shouldn't have, but who hasn't? And personally, I respect people who are willing to go through all of this in public, because it's through people like Ronnie that ultimately we get the chance to learn about ourselves. And before I go, let's check out Arcane Ghosts. This is Roller Coaster.
Tell me everything you're sitting on the front porch.
Sounds good.
At the back of your mind. 'Cause I will tell you everything that's running through my mind. Imagining my bullshit.
And this is Paralyzed.
Fall asleep.
All right, okay. Have they paid him to put this on? Oh, it's over. Right, it's over. The documentary's over. Okay, so some very interesting facts there about Ronnie through his career. The fact that how he deals with haters, which I absolutely agree with. The facts of his life story and why he went to jail and probably unjustly. And the fact that he came out a better person because of that and actually got off the drugs, which was, again, testament to the prison service that can actually work sometimes. I mean, some people just repeat offenders, and some people, if they're going to be an asshole, you'll be an asshole. That's it. That's the way it is. But yeah, that was quite informative with a lot of facts, and a lot of them I did already know, but there was some new stuff in there as well that I didn't know. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments, and if you like my videos, then please hit like and subscribe, and I shall see you all on the next one.